What is going on, guys? I'm Jack.
And I'm Ollie.
And welcome back to another episode of the R34 build. In today's video, we're going to start doing the head studs. So we're going to make this sort of a bit of a tutorial video. We're going to go through everything that we're doing in fine detail, so that you guys, if you obviously need to change your head studs on the RB25, can follow along. And it's probably going to be a two-part video, but obviously make sure you stay tuned for the whole video because we're going to go through everything.
Specifically based on the RB25 Neo 6, which is obviously what Jack's R34's got in it.
Yep.
We are not removing the cylinder head. We are doing this with the cylinder head still in place. So therefore we're doing each stud one by one. So we're taking the old head bolt out and putting the new stud and nut in place, which you can do, and it's perfectly fine to do. It just means that you don't have to take the head off, don't have to have the head skimmed, you don't have to change the head gasket. Just if you're trying to do it on a time schedule, and generally if your engine's not smoking or doing anything funky from the head gasket, don't touch it. Generally, that's the advice we were told.
As we're not forging it, obviously at this stage. If you were forging it, it would make sense to, obviously take the head off and do it properly.
Plan is in the winter. That's what we're going to be doing. But for now, this is sort of like a quick fix.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting to push higher cylinder pressures, you end up running into lifting the head, and it's prevalent on Evos or any high performance engine. Really, you get head lift when you start up in the cylinder pressures. The nice thing about generally head studs or head bolts are stretch bolts, so they're torque to yield, whereas ARPs are not. So when we take the head off again come winter time, you can reuse the head studs.
Exactly.
So, but for now, this video basically tutorial on how to do head studs on an RB25 DET Neo 6.
Let's go.
Just a short disclaimer before we get going in this video. You don't have to take the cams out to do the head studs or head bolts on an RB25. There are little grooves in the camshafts to enable you to put a tool down and pull the bolts out without taking the camshafts out. However, with Jack's engine, it's a high mileage engine, so we personally wanted to check the condition of the hydraulic lifters and also the condition of the cam caps and the lobes of the camshafts themselves. That's why we've taken the cams out. So if you're wondering, later on down the video, you're going, oh, they don't need to take the cams out. That's why we did it. So yeah, anyway, on with the video. So to get to the current point where we are now, with the radiator out and everything, you can see all the auxiliary components on the front of the engine. To get to this section, to get to this point, you've got two 10mm nuts on the top which hold the radiator stays. They're like studs through the rad support. Take those off, and then you've got an upper radiator hose and a lower radiator hose. You just undo the clamps simply and slide them off, and then you've also got your viscous fan which bolts on to the front here with 4 nuts. That just unbolts and comes out, and then you sort of have to take it all out as one go. But once it's all loose, it just all sort of slides out the top, and then you've got lots and lots of room to get in at all the auxiliary components. So there's no specialist tools or anything required. It's really simple to get to this stage. However, we are currently waiting because we are going to have to deal with this. But what this is Nissan's variable valve timing system called VCT. Now we haven't currently disturbed this, but we've just undone the bolts. Now if you don't put this back in exactly the same position and calibrate it, the engine doesn't really start and run properly. However, I'm not all that clued up on VCT. I've got my friend Ryan here who's going to explain how the VCT system works and how you've got to reset it back up with the timing light and everything to get it all to run properly again once it's been off. Okay, so this is Ryan. Ryan has a 440 horsepower RB20 powered R32 GTS-T and knows a little bit more than I do. Obviously I've done variable valve timing and stuff at work, but I've not dabbled yet with the VCT system. So basically, would you kindly explain how the VCT system works on the RB25 and how you set it up once you take that VCT? Is it solenoid?
It is, yeah.
Void VCT solenoid off.
Yeah, so it's just basically all it is, electronic solenoid that advances and retards the timing depending on where the
ECU tells it to.
Yeah, and what revs you're at. All it is a little cam lobe with a keyway that sits in front of the cam, and so advances and retards the timing on position of the cam, position of the exhaust cams basically. It doesn't work on the inlet, only works on the exhaust.
Only on the exhaust, yeah.
Basically you need to make sure that at all times you need to mark them. So if it's half a degree out, it will cause misfire, won't come on boost properly, run too lean or too rich.
Yours didn't even rev, did it?
No, not at all. Way you do it is, so you've got the cast timing, and then you've also got the ECU, and then you've got obviously your crank position. So you've got to use a timing light. So you take out one of your coil packs, preferably cylinder 1. Got to disconnect your idle control valve to make sure it doesn't spike. And then connect timing light to the coil plug lead.
Yeah.
Because obviously, being a pencil coil, you can't attach it any other way.
It takes a live feed straight off.
Yeah. Then you go on to BDC on your ECU, which is just your base timing, and just where your exhaust stroke or where your
So we'll be able to see that on the link when we plug it into the laptop.
Yeah,
basically.
it'll just give you degrees of what the car wants.
Yeah.
And basically, you just got to make sure that your timing light for your bottom crank pulley is the same as what your ECU's asking for.
Yeah.
Just do that by basically just turning the cast until it's in the degrees of what it's asking.
What it's asking for, yeah.
Basically, it's not too complicated, but it's just
Setting
something
it up so that it runs right.
And if you don't, then it causes a lot of problems. And
Yeah.
you will, it won't rev, or it'll lean out, or it'll. And doesn't matter if it too much if it goes too rich, but if it leans out, then
you start having problems.
yeah, you start blowing stuff up.
Yeah.
And that's no fun.
So there we go.
Basically.
That's Nissan VCT.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much for that, Ryan. So this particular engine has 3 different auxiliary belts. Now the front one, which you can see here, which is now nice and loose, is your power steering. Now to get this belt off, all you've got to do is simply loosen this 14mm bolt at the top, which also goes right the way through. So you loosen this one, and then if you look down at the very bottom, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see it, but there is like an extended stud with a nut. So if you undo the nut, you can then pull the entire power steering setup and sort of slide it on a rocker, and then that allows you to loosen it and pull the belt off. But yeah, so what we're going to do now is the next belt in line is the air conditioning belt. So we're going to take that off, which has also actually got a tensioner. So what you do is you undo that, slide that up, and you can take that belt off. So we'll do that now quickly. And once it's loose, you can undo it and pull the belt off. Okay, so to loosen the alternator belt, you have on the top of the alternator there's a 12mm on the inside here, which pinches the alternator against this sliding bracket. Then you've also got another 12mm bolt that goes that way, which acts as your slider. So as you undo it, it moves the alternator out, or as you do it up, it moves the alternator out. Then you've got a 14mm at the bottom, which is on the other side of the pinch. So you undo that one, and then you wind that out, and then you can pull on the belt, and it moves the alternator along the sliding bracket, and it allows you to then pull the belt off, just like that. Okay, so we've got the upper timing cover off. There's five nuts, 5 bolts that hold the upper timing cover on. Obviously you have to take the VCT off to get at it. So to whip the covers off an RB25 is actually really simple. On our particular one, there's little Allen key bolts, so these probably would have been replaced at some point. I don't know if they're factory, I'm pretty sure they're not. But there's like 10 to remove on the centre spark plug cover, then that comes off, and then I'll show you what to do with the coil packs when we're in there. But the covers, the actual camshaft covers are really easy. There's just a bunch of 10mm all the way around the outside. I think there's probably 10 on each side of the cover. There's all the way down along here. You undo those, and then the cover just literally lifts up and pulls off. So what we'll do is I'll take the spark plug cover off, and then I'll start taking the rocker covers off and show you how to do it. Okay, so we're in another spark plug cover. We've got 2 10mm bolts per coil pack, which is what holds them into the actual cylinder head, and obviously you've got the single plug there. So basically it's really easy, you just undo the 2 bolts per coil pack. So if you were fitting Superformers like we are, it's definitely a really easy job to do. The skill level is not very high, so you could probably give this a go yourself. So we're going to whip all of these out now. We're going to put them in the box. We're not going to throw them away because they're still perfectly good and they worked. So we'll probably keep them as spares. If not, we will consider selling them maybe. Okay, so there is actually 10mm bolts per rocker cover. Well, once you've removed all of them, you can literally, they'll probably be fairly stuck to the head because the seal will stick them if they've not been removed before. And then you just literally pull up and move them away. And then they come off in one, and then you've got the nice seal which you can pull out and remove as well, just like that. And then that's how you remove rocker covers off an RB25. Okay, so we've just had a sudden brainwave. If you are doing this job, generally you want to replace the timing belt at the same time, but because this has had a timing belt fairly recently, we think we're going to be able to get away without taking that pulley off. What we're going to try and do is set the timing marks that the belt, set all the OEM timing marks and line it all up, and then undo the camshaft pulleys from the ends of the cams. And then what that's going to allow us to do is pull the belt and the pulleys forward, and then we'll be able to take the cams out from the top, which would save us having to do anything else down here, and hopefully save us a lot of time. But however, if you are doing this and your car, you have no recollection of when your car last had a timing belt, it's probably just safer to order a puller kit and just do the timing belt whilst you're in here doing all of this, because it's not that much extra work to do so. However, like I said, this is a fairly new belt, so we're just going to try and figure out a way to not take that pulley off. So there's 3 12mm that hold the VCT bracket up. They sit on dowels, and it basically sits in there to hold the VCT directly on the cam, because the VCT system is driven, like Ryan said, by a keyway inside the cam. So now what we're going to do is pull this pulley off. We've lined the marks up with the original marks where the timing belt's been done before. So we're going to take this pulley off, and that should allow us to slacken the belt and crack on with removing the cams. And for whatever reason, these bolts in the end of the camshaft are 11mm, they're not 10s. That's very weird.
Helpful.
Considering Jap cars are pretty much always 10s and 12s. I don't know why they're an 11. To remove camshafts on an engine, you want to loosen each bolt first, and you want to start from the middle outwards, because camshafts are quite brittle and they can snap. So you want to loosen them a couple of turns each time. You don't want to gun them out, so you literally just want to crack them a little bit and just keep working your way out. And then once they're loose, you can then put the little gun on and go to town. What I generally do on the fourth cap, on the last end caps, is I normally do that one at the top, and then I do the reverse one on the front one, like that, and then I alternate and go back to the bottom one there, and then the top one there, and then it just makes sure that all of it is released nice and evenly. And then once it's all broken free, give me a little electric whizzer, and we can whiz all the caps loose. Actually really happy with the internal condition of your engine.
I'll tell you what, let's just bring the camera in actually, because this engine has done 158,000 miles. And I'll tell you what,
there's a little bit of staining, which you'd usually see from synthetic oils, but there's no like sludge build-up. There's nothing concerning. It's actually really clean for its age. So it's obviously been well looked after and had a good set of owners, I would have thought.
So yeah, as I said, we're going to leave it there for now, guys. We did end up taking the cams out, as we said, just to inspect it, and as we can see, it's in pretty decent condition, which is really good news.
You just see a little bit more with the cams out. So
yeah, exactly.
That's why we did
So hopefully that was helpful to you guys if you're obviously planning on doing head studs on your car. This is not the end, so make sure you hit the subscribe button to join us for the next part, where we actually do the head studs, right?
That's the plan. That's the actual whole purpose of this series.
Yeah.
So when you join us for the next episode, we will actually talk you through actually replacing the head studs themselves, and obviously reading we'll talk you through the instructions that come with the ARP studs, and how to torque them up, and all of that sort of jazz. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy this video and you learned something or it helped you out in any way, please hit the like button down below. It helps us out a huge amount. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below and go and check out the rest of the content on the channel as well. We've got plenty more on the R34 and Ollie's Evo 5 as well. And also check us out on Instagram. All the socials will be in the link down below.
We're mostly active on Instagram, so if you want to ping us a message or interact with us, that's the place to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've got any questions on this video, or if you want any assistance with your build,
YouTube,
just
if you want to ask us a question, just ping us a DM on Instagram.
Or let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.
Would this fit on my Volvo?